is right. There is a good chunk of the season left. And we've seen a team from this very division do something like turn around their season at this point in the season and go on to play in a World Series. And that is the Philadelphia Phillies, who were, middling before they made a turn and went to the World Series. Same goes for the Washington Nationals, the year that they won the World Series. I feel like they were about to fire Davey Martinez that season, and then they got super hot and went on to win the World Series. So it can be done. Will it be done this year by the Mets? I'm not so sure. What do you think the prognosis is for the New York Mets? Do you think they have time to turn it around?
I don't think so. And, you made a case for either thing happening, which is you let go of your manager. That's what the Phillies did last year. And once Rob Thompson took over, all of a sudden this team completely came alive. They started playing differently, and guys who wanted a chance. It wasn't as much of a seniority system that I think existed under Joe Girardi, and so the Phillies became a different team. On the flip side, if you look at the Nationals, they believed in what Davey Martinez was doing at the time. They didn't fire him. Nationals all of a sudden start winning games. They win it all. So this is where the Mets brass has a decision to make, and right now it appears they're going to go with sticking with Buck Showalter, but that's what they get paid to do. I like Buck Showalter a lot. I don't know if he's the guy for this job. It's difficult for me to separate the job that he's doing versus the person that he is, because Buck is very likable. But also, this is a Mets team that just is playing shoddy baseball. And I'm not quite so sure if you're a manager and your team is making fielding errors and they're not playing smart. These are major leaguers. I'm not quite so sure what else he can do. So it's a tough conundrum for this team and for the brass that are going to say something today to at least maybe quell some of the calls for Buck's job and for the Mets to do something.
Yeah, I think they had to do this press conference. They have to at least address the situation that's at hand. But from a betting perspective, sometimes teams like this can present some value, because you look at the roster, they have all of the talent in the world. They certainly have the horses and the players to contend with the best of the best. So when you see the Mets at plus 2,200 to win the National League, which this was a team that was one of the favorites to win the World Series entering the season, because this is what you want to do in the futures market. You want to buy low. You don't want to buy high, when they're the World Series favorites. You want to buy low at rock bottom when everybody is saying you're going to lose your shirt if you bet on this team. So, Jenks, from that standpoint, can you make a case for betting on the Mets right now at this price?
I mean, I guess just because of the value and the talent, they're 50-1 to win the World Series. And so if you look at the roster, you say the talent is there. They can't play a whole lot worse. I believe as of Tuesday, they were 16 games behind the Braves in the NL East. Currently, they're 8.5 games back the wild card spot. So they need some help. They're going to have to go on some sort of run here. So from a value perspective, I guess so. But it's still, they're worth the sprinkle because of the talent. There's no question there. So that's maybe your only opportunity there. I would not put a lot of money there just because historically, as we know, the Mets, this is kind of what they do. But yes, from a value perspective, sure, maybe worth a little bit.
I'm very interested in your foray into baseball, because I know basketball is your bread and butter, but you are a smart person. You understand betting. Have you noticed anything about handicapping baseball that you have learned over the past month? How's it going for you?
Baseball actually has not been too terrible. This is my first season really studying the game in terms of a handicapping aspect of it. I'm putting out each day for BetQL, for our editorial side, team totals. So trying to figure out, teams are going to go over or under their run total for the day. That's kind of been a fun angle to take. And for me, that just makes me focus on kind of one aspect of the game versus dealing with player props or pitching props or, all that jazz. So that's kind of been where I've focusing there. A lot of things taken into account, pitching matchups, righties versus lefties, things like that. Chelsea, you could probably school me in all that type of info, but those are some of the things I've kind of picked up on. What else? ballparks. I mean, Coors Field is always a good one to take some overs on, different things like that. And then just paying attention to some of the best pitchers in the league and the matchups they're going against. I mean, the Braves the other day, Spencer Strider, best K rate in the league, and going up against the Twins, who strike out more than any other team in the league.
The most,
so
yeah.
Trying to find little things like that has been what I'm working on. It's still not great at it, but getting better as the season goes on, and it's actually been pretty fun. I was always kind of against betting MLB for the past couple seasons just because it seems so daunting. There's so many players, so many teams, they play every single day, but it's been a lot more fun than I expected.
If there was any athlete who you think could cross over into major league eating, like we see this discussion all the time, like if any player in any other sport could play another sport, what would it be? Do you think there's any athlete right now that actually could do pretty well on the major league eating circuit?
Yes, there is, because the misconception is that, oh, it's somebody who eats a lot, somebody who it's someone who has to be meticulous, in shape, very regimented. Shohei Ohtani. I think Shohei Ohtani could do it because he's just good at everything. He absolutely annihilates anybody who comes in his path competition-wise. So I think that he could translate very well to an eating competition because he just dominates everything he does. And he would go into it thinking, I can't lose this. And I think that's his mindset. He goes up to the plate. He's like, I'm going to hit a home run. Like, that's just the way it is. Clearly, because he's hit 27 of them this season. But so I think he would go into it with a training regimen and be very perfect about it. And he seems like a perfectionist in some ways, but like a casual perfectionist where he seems very just loose about it. So I think that's the best way to go into these, because you get nervous and then your body seizes up and then you can't eat as much. And so you lose the competition. I think he makes everything he does look easy. And I think he could make this look easy as well. And I think he would be the perfect person to do any of these competitions. Hot dog, bagel, and cream cheese like Jeffrey Esper did, and strawberry shortcake. And you name a food, I think Shohei Ohtani could dominate in any competition.
I have put together some odds. Here are the guys that I think that would fare pretty well in Major League Eating. It's got to be Daniel Vogelbach. Danny Burgers. I'm going to go plus 500. Rowdy Tellez, who Jenks put in the chat, would be a good one as well. Ohtani, I think he's behind when it comes to the odds. And then you've got to put like some other big guys. Like I feel like Lance Lynn looks like a guy that could eat a lot of hot dogs. Is there anybody else I'm missing? And do you like those odds?
I like those. I think Lance Lynn's a great one. That's a good one.
Alec Manoah.
Right.
Oh, that's a good
blow.
one. He has some time on his hands, maybe.
He could use a few hot dogs to switch it up. Anything.
He should maybe just switch sports entirely, and maybe tough if he was your Cy Young pick, but that's just the way it goes. I think hot dogs would be a good avenue for him at this point. Should actually suggest that to him.
Yeah.
New life choice for him.
Also, I can't believe no one has mentioned John Daly. If John Daly randomly showed up with a cig hanging out of his mouth, you'd be like, we're all in trouble.
Are you leading the way? Or are you walking away?
Well, first of all, poster boy in the bedroom can definitely be taken out of context in the absolute worst way. We have a running joke that Jenks has a poster of Bijan Robinson above his bed that he kisses every night, which I don't know if that makes things better or worse when you hear that phrase. But I don't know. It's going to be hard to take it away from him because in the offense that he is playing for, he's going to get a ton of reps. And we've talked about this before. Bijan Robinson is not just a running back. He is somebody that can impact the game in a variety of ways. He can catch passes. He can do all these things at the line of scrimmage that are going to make him more valuable to the team. But I think there are other guys that have a good shot to win this. I'm wondering what we see from Anthony Richardson. I am not somebody who believes that he can throw the ball to intended targets. But if he can even put up a semblance of an offense, he's going to get all the chances because he's playing for the Colts. So he is going to get the full run. There is no crowd of Colts fans. It's like, all right, next, because the Colts, they know they're bad this year. So I think it's going to be an uphill climb. Also, you got to look at Bryce Young coming out of the University of Alabama. The only knock on him is just simply that he's short. Plus, I love Frank Reich. So I'm going to go that way. I think Bryce Young is a very smart young man. I think he's going to have a great season playing in a terrible division.
Well, it won't shock you to know that I am leading the way here. The lovely Catherine said, hey, we need some new wallpaper for our living room. Double D fired up, and I said, why spend all that ridiculous cash when we can put a full-size poster of Bijan Robinson here that I can kiss in the bedroom and in the living room? Did I put money on Bijan Robinson at 3-1? Yes, I did. So, of course, I'm going to lead the way. I got better odds than plus 275. Give him hell. Give him hell. Go, Horns, go. Of course, Bijan Robinson, I'm leading the way. Thank you, Double D.